You're listening to the Two in the Mud podcast with Tony Rico and Scott Smith.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Two in the Mud podcast. How about that? Scott, I don't know. Earlier, I think we were stuck in the mud a little bit. I think we still are kind of trying to figure this thing out a little bit. But
Get two softball coaches trying to figure out technology.
yeah, but hey, we're super excited to kind of get together on this and bring a little different twist on softball and life to people. So, for me, I'm really looking to inspire, share some stories, hopefully be a little bit entertaining, but really show some insight. You and I talk a lot, and I think that we have some unique relationships, unique experiences that we want to share with people. But most of all, it's not the Scott Smith and Tony Rico story on this podcast. It's really about stories that are relevant and experiences that can help you out there. So if anybody out there, one or two or five people listening to us, you could be a little happier, you could be a little less angry, a little less frustrated, a little more trusting. Hey, it's possible. I mean, we've been fortunate to develop a lot of friendships, a lot of relationships, and, we still compete. We don't want people, I think people understand that. And I think another thing, Scott, is I want people to see a different side of you. I can present that to them because people know Scott Smith out on the field, and depending how long they've known you, they might only know the Bomber machine and how it's been here recently, but there's a lot of great history there as well, too. So I
I've got to
appreciate
pull
you
off.
reaching out to me.
I've got to pull off letting people see the different side of you. Like that's going to be more entertaining because you're a little bit of a mystery man, bro. Like I'm just telling you, like you don't let people in real close to you. But I will tell you what, I think that there's going to be some things that along this journey that people find out about you, and I think it's going to be really cool to for us to do this. I'm hoping in the end that we create a community of people that watch us and we talk about things that are, hey, we're softball coaches, so we're going to talk a lot about softball. Like I totally think we'll do that. But I have a feeling we're going to talk about just about as much about other things. And that's what you and I talked about was the goal with this, because you and I have been probably talking about doing this for what, 2 years, 3 years? And it stemmed from the fact that you and I would get on a call that we would say, hey, I got 5 minutes. Can you jump on a call? And it'd be 30 minutes later and we were talking about the craziest shit. I'm going to say bad words every once in a while. T may not say as many as I do, but his vocabulary is better than mine. He's going to say words I don't even understand too. Like I'm gonna promise you, he's going to do
I'll
that.
surprise you.
But you and I would talk about things, and we were like, bro, like that needs to be like we need to share that with people. Like that's really cool, and so to have this opportunity for us to just talk and just talk about stuff, and I think that's really cool. And so, yeah, like I'm really looking forward to this, man. It's going to be
I
fun.
think relevant point number one to whoever might be listening would be that word share, right? So we can have different opinions. I use the analogy of like listening to different chefs, right? 500 different ways to cook spaghetti, right? But what works for you, what's worked for us, and then really what can we offer out there that might be able to enhance somebody else's softball experience, right?
Yeah.
Earlier we talked about just there's content creators. We all know that term, but I really want, especially our coaches and people that reach out to us for advice and things like that, to remember that we're experience creators. So one of the things on these particular sessions that we'll have together is, look, we're just going to have fun.
Yeah.
When we're delivering to other people, we don't want to deliver things that we wouldn't want to participate in ourselves. And I think that's rule number one. If you're running a practice, you're getting people together, think about what it's like when they're in your company and they're in your hands, and the energy and everything else and the effort towards just basically creating an experience. People are going to hear a lot of analogies from me because I think softball gets pretty ambiguous. So I'll talk about the 5-year-old birthday party compared to your, 14 and under practice and different things, just to give people some comparisons to kind of maybe help with perspective. So I'm excited about it. For me, I also want to share, like I mentioned, some insight to you. So quickly want to get in. We'll do a couple of minutes on just a little background on a little deeper parts of us without getting too heavy. But for you invited me to join you in an experience in Colorado. And that was a very, very unique experience for me. I mean, you had asked me, I kind of knew what it was, but it was a For the Heroes ceremony where you had presented a jersey to a family of their fallen son, who was a fallen soldier. And the intensity and the energy and the experience that I had, Scott, blew me away. It really put things in perspective about um, sometimes, softball gets pretty heavy and pretty heated, but really perspective, so minimal when you're talking about, these type of experiences. So I know that you had experience in the military of being involved in military funerals. So I really, if you wouldn't mind, give me a couple of minutes and give us a couple of minutes on where that background started, your experience with military funerals, and kind of how that inspired you to bring this into softball and to be able to extend just really what that is all about.
Yeah, man, I've probably been to more military funerals than I want to go to. There was a portion when I was stationed in Fort Carson, Colorado, which is a little bit remote for military funerals for veterans and service members that might live in Wyoming or Montana or different places. And so what would happen is we'd get tasked. That'd be a portion they call it dead red. You get an assignment. Well, I got a dead red assignment where I was doing military funerals, and it's tough, man. Like that's it touched me. Like it made a mark on me. Seeing family members go through. I mean, I was probably 24, 25 years old. Um,
Wow.
you know, and you don't think about end of life when you're 25. You're thinking about what am I going to do on Friday, right? Like so, seeing and experiencing that had an effect on me. And so then, as time went on, fast forward to a point where I created the For the Heroes Foundation. Was I was coaching my daughter and all those things, and they weren't being taught like good portion of those kids that were born during that time frame. We were at war there the entire time they were alive, like as a child, right? And so they came super numb to it, and no one was really talking about that. While these kids are going to the movies on Friday night, kids that were 4 and 5 years older than them, 18-year-olds, are bounding on the enemy, taking fire in Iraq and Afghanistan on their behalf, And some of them weren't coming home. And some of them were coming home, they were really broken. They were beat up. They had lost limbs. They had been really, really affected physically. And that's just one of those things, man. I just felt like, hey, we needed to honor some people. We needed to make sure that the message wasn't forgotten. We needed to make sure people weren't forgotten. And so that's kind of where the For the Heroes thing came into play. And I'm really proud of that. I actually don't run the For the Heroes. It got bigger than me, to be honest. You guys sit on the board. And that was real important for me. Was it started off as a real small thing, and it's a lot bigger than most people would even grasp. I mean, we've done some really cool things, man. We bought semesters of college for dependents of a service member who had lost a loved one. We've built ramps for people going into their house that don't have accessibility because they're in a wheelchair. So those are some really things I'm super proud of. Excuse me.
And with the ceremonies, you're presenting a jersey with the name of that
Yeah,
soldier that your
yeah,
player wore.
yeah. That we wore. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
So, do you assign those names? Do the players have any involvement in it? Like, how do you decide who's wearing what?
Yeah, it was weird. It was really weird because in the very beginning, the premise was, and this was a lot easier to do then, and this is a bad thing, but I assigned for my players. I had at the time 14, 15, 16 players on my team, and I assigned a name of a soldier who had been lost in combat from their area, their particular area, and made them research them, made them find out who they were. And so now a player from that area is wearing the name of a fallen soldier from that area
Wow.
on the back. And so they would come to me and say, "Oh, coach, you wouldn't believe this. His dad was high school sweethearts with my aunt." Things like that.
Right.
The connectivity of that. So it was really powerful. And over time, we honored every single person who had been fallen across the country. And so beautifully, now we're out of names in a lot of ways. And so we've had to recreate how we go about the Jersey Awareness Program. And it's obviously there's first responders and those kind of people. We've started honoring people who have battled cancer, like they're heroes too, right? Like it's really cool. The For the Heroes has kind of weaved its way through this evolution of what a hero is, and I don't think there's a real absolute definition of that. So that was one of the things that was really unique in a way that it's kind of evolved. And partly, Tia, I mean, I think you've got to talk a little bit about your play with honor. Like at about the same time, like really the timing of that was very similar. You were starting to play with honor. Tell people about that because I know you've shared that with me. Like,
Yeah.
tell me about that.
Well, again, I think and it's going to be relevant. I guess I feel like I'm the oldest guy in the room a lot of times now, but anyone that's up there in
You
years,
are,
you,
you
you
are.
might be the child of a World War II parent, like I was.
Hmm.
My
Yeah.
dad fought in World War II, and he fought in the West, and he lost his brother, in Europe, and my brother was in Vietnam, and that's that history for me is something that I grew up in. I grew up knowing what had taken place. And for our family, I mean, I think I have one of the unique stories of being a Hispanic that doesn't speak Spanish because when, my dad was very clear to us, he said he came back from the war and he told my mom he fought for two things. He fought for his buddies and he fought for that flag. And we're an American family. And so the only time I heard Spanish in my house was if my mom wasn't happy with my dad, or maybe there was a relative that had called somewhere.
Bro,
But,
my
you
wife
know,
my wife doesn't speak Spanish, and her parents were. There was kind of a stigma about speaking Spanish. They wanted the people to feel like they were true Americans, and they were
yeah,
true Americans whether they spoke English or Spanish anyway.
yeah.
But that she can't speak Spanish.
And it was a different time because, you know, freedom to my dad is what he fought for. And so he would say things to me. I was a nosy little kid, so I would look through a lot of his stuff and I would find pictures and I would find different things and I would just ask him. So he was pretty open with me, honest with me. And I remember one day in the car, he just said, "Don't you ever forget what your uncle died for." And he didn't say it in a threatening way or anything. Because he wasn't that kind of a guy. Anybody that had older generation parents, my dad was very low key, very mellow, not really reactive, emotional with us. So when he said something that stuck, it was usually pretty profound. And so that was big. So for me, I was raised with that appreciation. And then I think with the principles of my mother, which really has been a guiding light in my life, and that is just be good to people. Now I'm a knucklehead, so I had the old bad temper growing up and lost my cool and all these things that people maybe wouldn't think about. But I had all the typical human components of myself. But it always bothered me, Scotty, when people were mean to each other. Like ever since I was a kid, if I saw somebody mistreating someone else or someone just, I don't know. And then as you get older, people that big league other people or this or that or take their
Hmm.
success, whatever. And I just feel like I always want to be the first one to remind
Hmm.
them of that bigger picture that kind of came from my dad. So Play with Honor, to quickly wrap that up, was just really a reminder to be appreciative. Really a reminder to remember that there was sacrifice for everybody. To tie into the hero, right? Everybody's got a hero.
Hmm.
We are all here because of something before us, someone before us, someone provided for us. Whether it was your parent or not, it might have been a neighbor, it might have been a relative, gosh, might have been a school teacher. Like it's just a reminder that there's bigger things. Now, I think the last point is, I've got plenty of emails that have said, "Hey, your coach and so isn't coaching with honor." And there's
Yeah.
that reminder. And I tell people, listen, I appreciate that because you're giving me a heads up, but Play with Honor isn't a standard that you have to uphold and then you constantly fall down to. It's a reminder to fall down less and to be just more compassionate. So
Yeah.
it's just a reminder. That's really what it
Yeah.
is. But for people to understand that behind us on the field or whatever they might know us for, that there's some deeper things that people have an opportunity to weave into their brands, to weave into
Hmm.
their orgs, to weave into their teams. You can talk about the post game experience of what we didn't do and the frustrating part of it, or you can tie it in that it's Memorial Day weekend and that we have an opportunity to even just talk about that on certain weekends. So,
Yeah.
a little background on that, but I really appreciate you for that stuff, brother, because that to me is, I think it makes our parents proud, and really, really glad that we talk about things that are bigger than softball.
Yeah. Like the can't tell how many times we've worn those uniforms, and it's harder. Like to be honest with you, T, it's harder today to get my own people in our program to appreciate the For the Heroes
Yeah,
because they feel like we're disconnected from that because we're not at war, or we're not at this, or we're not at that, and so it's a challenge in that respect. But during that time, really during the height of the war and stuff, I can't tell you how many times we'd walk into the ballpark with our we were wearing the For the Heroes uniform, and it was the most powerful day.
no
It just
kidding.
was because people knew, right? And the relationships that had gotten built because of that. One player of mine, she played at A&M, a young lady named Kelby Fortenberry, played there. I signed her a name of a fallen soldier, and this guy was 19. Apologize if they're gonna go fact check this and go, no, he was 18. Like, I understand. It's been a while, and I'm old, but he was young. And Kelby was a senior, so we're talking about a couple years difference, really a couple years difference. He had older parents. His parents were probably late 50s, early 60s when we did this. And they showed up at the ballpark and they had his picture, T. And the mom couldn't stop hugging Kelby, like just wouldn't let go of her. And really just was really connected to her. I could tell, I could sense that there was a real connection for her. She was correlating the age and all that.
Right.
Bro, she went on to play at A&M. Those people went and watched her play at A&M like that was her. Like, yes. And like it just gave them something to hold on to. And they knew that there was some connectivity there. And I that was one of the real moments that I was like, this is cool. This is bigger. It's bigger than us even wearing a uniform. This has got some hooks for people to have lifelong. And now Kelby's a high school coach in that kind of in that area, I think, so
Well,
it's
the
really cool.
experience you gave on
Yeah.
both ends of it. The
Yeah, it's really
experience
cool.
on both ends, like mind blowing, right?
Yeah,
And so
it's fun.
again, I just feel like the perspective that so many people that I come across in softball becomes a softball only perspective, and the opportunities to just expand it and create things that are just like I said, this in particular is mind blowing. So, again, culture, right? Like we're a culture based org. I just encourage people to think about the history of your area, the families, the whatever's going on, and and make it relevant to what you're doing, because it's not when we talk about the military, or for me being a son of a soldier, this is not a political statement at all. This is being an
No.
American. This is living
Yeah.
in this country. And as I remind our students, I'm still living the life that I choose. Like up to this day right now, I'm in charge of my destiny. I deal with
Mm-hmm.
everything that everybody else does, right? And have the
Yep.
same type of things that I have to abide by. But we are creating and designing our lives that's exciting, and we're still able to do that. And I think that that's an important thing to continue to talk to our kids about too, because we have a lot of driven kids. But I ask them, are you enjoying it? And I think that's important for maybe 8 out of 10 kids.
Yeah.
Well, there's 1 or 2 out of 10 that are just wired different, and fun isn't necessarily a component to their balance and things. But for a
And some are out of
majority
balance. Some get out of balance.
well,
Big time. Well, or fun is only connected to winning.
right,
Right?
right.
Like that's such a, and I tell our players man, I'm sure you do the same thing, but I tell our players all the time, if you're hanging your happiness on wins and losses in a sport that I think, and I tell them this all the time, it's the hardest sport on planet Earth for a female to play. Like, I'll wait for someone to tell me a tougher sport. Like, I just, like, I'll Google it. Like, tell me what it is. Because you're trying to hit a round ball with a round bat, and they're throwing it from 43 feet, and they're trying to make you miss it, and you're going to miss it a bunch, and the other team's good. And, like, if your happiness is only predicated on if we win, man, that's
And
you set up for
30% success rate makes you good.
yeah,
Right. So
like
70%. So, but that's really our job. Like travel ball
Yeah.
is full of volunteer coaches that weren't
Mhm.
necessarily trained to understand the most healthy perspective for a ball player to take. So again,
Yeah.
I'm going to implore coaches to listen more to professional athletes. Listen more to professional athletes that have had success not only on the field, but they also seem to have a balance in life. Now that might be fewer and fewer, but there's perspectives. There's a way
Yeah.
that they answer things. There's a way that they don't react to all of the same things that so many people react to. They're in the same ball game, but their
Yeah.
perspective it's almost like those players that learn how to detach from their performance. They're still very, very high level players, and that's partly the reason why they've learned to compartmentalize and just to turn the page. And yes, we're going to admit that, we're not going to sit here and say that we don't have feelings of anger, frustration, because that's the
Oh,
human
I'm shitty to
component.
be around, bro, when we
Right.
lose.
Right.
Like I'm not good at it. I'm human, just like they are. But I think that is lost in coaching for us in trying to help one balance yourself, but at the same time help balance the people around you. You don't want to be that person. I don't want to be around that person when they lose. Like you don't want to be that guy, right? Like or that girl. You don't want to be that person.
Did you have any coaches growing up that would say things that kind of stuck with you? Because when you just said that right now, I remember I played for this coach, John Herbold, and he was man, he was very, very well known, had a lot of dynamics, but he would say, when you point your finger at somebody, you point three at yourself,
Yeah,
right? And so
yeah,
little things like that,
yeah.
it kind of stick with you.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. I think and you and I were kicking around this not too long ago. We were having a conversation, and I think and I said this to you, I said, I think there's something fundamentally wrong with me. Like I was telling my players this the other day. We were standing on the field, and I was like, I, I was watching coaches interact before the game, and they're chit chatting and buddying and all this stuff, and I was like, I can't once the game starts, I can't do that. Like
You're a little wound up, Scotty.
no, I can't do no, bro. Like this is not normal, and I'm gonna get graphic, but like I've got stuff rolling through my head, like Rob, and not really, but like I'm envisioning like cutting them and watching them bleed out on the field, and just be like, hey, drag, because I want that to be drug over there, so everybody sees that's what happens when you play us, right? Like don't come for us, right? And at the end of the day, that's not real. That's me
No,
being
but I will
funny,
tell you
but
this though. There's a smaller percentage of people that are able to attain the top, right? And so, however you might perceive it or see it from another perspective, is there is something to the player and or often the coach that there is a unique drive and a unique standard that that the winning wouldn't happen without it, like somewhere.
yeah.
So whether it's been compartmentalized and professionalized and the behavior is intact, but the internal drive is still,
Mhm.
and again, very similar to not only what I'd say my dad said he experienced in combat, but really what our ancestors experienced, the fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all products of ancestors that had to deal with stuff that it's like, okay, I don't want to say kill or be killed, but we're here because of the instincts of our ancestors. So that innate part of it, Scott, is expected because we're humans. Now, what do you do with it, right? Some of
Yeah.
us can enable it and take it to the top because I tell people, look, you don't get to the top with just kumbaya and
Yeah.
love and
Yeah.
respect. There's got to be another
Mhm.
component of taking care of business. But I think we work in an industry where there's an imbalance of the actual experience and there's too much hostility, and that's why I think I pride myself on being more of a I wouldn't say passive, but a calm example to kind of counterbalance all of the negative energy that I see on a weekend basis.
Oh, and there's a bunch of it. But now, at the same time, I might during the game or pre-game in my mind trying to rationalize not dragging you to deep water and sinking you and not letting you swim back because I want you to not make it because I want to win and I'll do whatever it takes. I'm also the same guy that's going to say, "Hey, bro, I'll buy all the beers when we're done."
Sure,
Right? Like
sure.
because being able to separate those two as a coach and being able because yeah, look, bro, you can say you're passive. You and I got into it at Hall of Fame Stadium,
Yeah.
right? In the middle of a game. And I say got into it. That's not a right way. We went back and forth at each other. And it's a funny story. One of my good friends, he was a soldier of mine. Tony actually has a picture of this. We may even put this in
I would
here.
definitely insert this in here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might put this picture in here. But was that the semifinals or it was either the semifinals or the
Shoot,
quarterfinals.
we didn't get that far that year.
What? No, you did, bro. But we were playing in a pretty important game, and it was important to both. They're all important, but this one was like, hey, you getting into the end of this of nationals, and uh, a friend of mine who he was one of my soldiers lives in my hometown now. We become friends. Who's a big softball fan was like, hey, I'm coming through Oklahoma. I'm gonna come stop by and watch the game. Well, he knew who Tony was. He's a big fan of track. Like he knew who Tony was. And Tony and I are going at it, and I'm barking. We're in the third base dugout, so Tony's coaching third base. And I'm barking about keep her in the box, Blue. Like saying their slapper was stepping out. Now it's still subject to whether that was actually happening or not. Like Tony will absolutely claim it did not.
I told you to take your phone out in the middle of the game and record her right there so we could look at it right there.
Yeah, look, that may or may not have happened. It may. I'm thinking the screwball was way too good for her to keep fouling off for the 10th time without stepping out of the box. She had to be. And we got to barking back and forth at each other. And a lot of people would have taken that, and my friend included, who I gave some pretty cool access. There's a little well right there for photographers and stuff.
We're in the Oklahoma Stadium, right?
Yeah, we were in the Hall of Fame Stadium. And after it's like when the inning ended, he's like, "Bro, I didn't think you and him would get into it like that. Y'all were getting after it." And I go, "Bro, we ain't getting after it. He's fighting for his team. I'm fighting for my team." And then he snapped a picture of you and I with our arms around each other. And you were actually, like, this is what he didn't know, which most people didn't know, was you actually were trying to tell me, like, dude, shut the F up. You're going to win the game. Which, he goes, your team this year is better than ours. Get your shit together. You're going to move on to the next game and just relax. Get your heart rate down, bro. And that's exactly what you were telling me. Like, you literally were telling me that. And I remember, like, downshifting, like, boom. And we went on. We played for we didn't win it. We played for the national championship. But I very well could have screwed that up along the way. Like, I could have screwed that up.
Either of us could have crossed a line, which, again,
yes,
I think because, I think a lot of people would agree. A lot of people remember you for your worst moments. And when you cross that line, I know guys in travel ball that have been coaching 20, 30 years that still have bad blood over losing a player 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they still would rip up their first aid card over that guy if he was struggling or something because someone crossed the line of, like, however it was. I think the beauty in that moment, Scott, and like I said, I think the picture will show it. I'll send you another one because there's one where I'm pulling you in.
Yeah.
And what I think that people could actually see is when we describe this moment, it started off with a strategical confrontation, mm-hmm. right?
I was trying to get in the head of your slapper. Stop trying to think you can hit this screwball because you're going to be worried now about getting called out of the box.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here I am, like, again, as my perspective, as like I mentioned, bro, like, don't worry about this game. Like, I'm looking as a big brother that you're going to get there. And I'm kind of looking out, like, I want to get you to get there this way. Don't get there that way. Like, keep everything in order. And listen, there is fighting for your team. There's a lot of these things, but it's a lot of it in balance. I don't know if you remember another time when we were at your exposure deal and we were playing at there was a little stadium we were playing at, and we were up there talking. And we talked about everything but the game. You and I were talking about just different things. And in the last 1 minute, I said, "Hey, by the way, you're going to beat us 9-0 today." And I don't know if
we were at Davis Diamond. We were at A&M. Yeah.
No. It was the year we did it. It was.
Yeah. It was at Texas State. Texas State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so I had told you, you're going to beat us 9-0. I didn't follow up afterwards, but you beat us 9-0 that game. And so there's just certain things that, like, when they roll out, and here's the point for people that I want them to take away is that have a line. Okay. Have a line. Like, in the heat of the moment, we don't care about the line. Yeah. But like you said earlier, if you can be what you are now with who you are naturally, and especially for me, I'm the poster boy for behavioral rehabilitation. I mean, the reputation that I have is if there was anybody that went to school with me, whether it was fourth grade through high school, they would say that's not the Tony Rico that we knew. We knew a guy that was just, he would fight for the right reasons in all the wrong ways. And I just wasn't managed that way. So those are really important things. But I think, we told ourselves we're going to talk a little bit about softball per se, in the sense that talk about an area that's of relevance to people. So this particular situation between us was regarding slapping. Mm-hmm. And so kind of the topic that I'd like to bring up today is really like, is the slap game still relevant? Like
to slap or not to slap.
Yeah, to slap or not to slap, because there's different levels of like people receive slapping different ways, right? So I don't know if it's whether regionally or levels of the game, but there's a different levels of understanding and then therefore different perceptions. So my question to you is, slapping still relevant in today's game? And you've got plenty of players at the highest level, right? And you're working with some young kids and young prodigies. So where are you at with slapping in today's game, and where does it stand and fit into the Bomber toolbox?
Yeah, like you and I have had this conversation for a handful of years because we've seen, I don't know if you call it an evolution, but you've seen this wave of difference in what slapping used to be. My own daughter was a slapper. That's why I got into slapping, and I may be one of the only people around here that still works with slappers. To be honest with you, there's not a lot of people that are invested in the slapper, and I always talk about value, right? And that's the thing about slapping today. I still think it's super valuable. Um, Other people may not value it the same way, and that's for anything in life. Like what I perceive to have value does not necessarily mean you have to perceive it to have value. And so I think that's the hard part is, and then, and you're way better at this than I am in the sense of making a player appreciate their value, right? And how they go about their business. I remember watching Firecracker Slappers, Sis Bates, Taylor Van Zee, these guys that weren't just slappers, right? But when they slapped, it was pretty. It was beautiful. Their takes were beautiful. Like they were smooth. They were controlled. Like there was a poetry to it, right? And at that time, and I feel like at that time, the defenses were. It wasn't even the pitchers were trying to figure out how to throw to slappers because they didn't know necessarily because it was. I just felt like it was still an unknown in a lot of ways, but the defenses did not have an answer for, and so their value was much easier to be understood when the good ones did it because you just couldn't get them out.
Right.
You know, the whole Arizona and Arizona State and those guys putting concrete in front of home plate and them just bouncing the ball in the air like you know what Larry Ray and those guys did. Like I'm talking in your wheelhouse now, but
Right.
yeah, like what we have today is a hybrid of that. And I think the game, because the defenses have adjusted in such a way with shifts and the ability for pitchers to throw pitches that aren't hittable. I mean, they're just not hittable in a lot of ways. I think slapping has had to evolve into a tool versus you used to be a slapper. Now you're a player that slaps. And I think and that's how I explain it to players and that want to go down that path is, my own daughter, full disclosure, and I say this to this day, and not just because my own kid, she's the sickest bunter I've ever coached, and a good slapper, and a terrible swing away. We could never get it. We didn't have enough time in her career to get that fixed because we didn't start it soon enough, right? Like it just wasn't a thing. Being a slapper was the thing, and so much attention was put to that. So I think to go back to your original part of your question, like my thought on it and how it relates and this, I'm super high on slappers. And I think there's a big value to them. They have to have a role in your lineup and they have to have a role in your run scoring plan. And if they're just a thing you have and you don't really know how to use them, it can be really detrimental to you. Like a lot of people like stacking lefties together. Yeah, it's fine. You stack a lefty together, but the kid gets to second base and she steals second on her own. Now you got a slapper that's hitting in front of her all the time. That's not productive, right? Like that's just counterproductive to run scoring and all those things. So I think there has to be a real strategic plan for how slappers play their role in your offense. But I think slapping is more of a tool today than it was a thing you were.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the best way I would. Where are you at with it? What do you think about it?
Well, I cannot talk about slapping without mentioning quickly how it all started with me. So back in the 90s, when I thought,
Bro, hold on. Before you start down this story,
yeah.
I used to watch you, bro, you used to do these low level video produced little things in your warehouse, and y'all would like set up a camera, and like you could just watch y'all, right? And those kids would go in there and they'd bounce those rubber balls off that jugs machine, off that basketball court, and I was terrified of what playing against those kids. Like you, like, and here you go, you'd be in there doing it up like you were one of the first, bro. Like you were
Well,
like I really believe that.
I had to learn the hard way. I thought I knew everything, and I would say the person responsible for me getting into the slapping concept was Mike Candrea. So
Yeah.
Mike had reached out, and he really had supported me and gave me some opportunities back when I first started coaching that I'll always be indebted to him. And he pulled me aside. He was watching a Nationals game. I think we were in St. Louis maybe in 1999, 98. And he said, "Hey, Tony, I want you to come down and work at one of my camps, and I want you to learn the slapping game." And so again, you said I wasn't going to use many words, but I will drop this one. I told Coach Kendra, I said, Mike, if I've got to learn slapping to be successful at softball, I'm fucking going back to baseball. So I said that to Mike Candrea, who is currently between he and Sue Enquist. They were battling for national championships every year, and so he didn't even look at me. He just kept looking at the field, like didn't respond to what I said. And I was like, oh, I think I crossed that line that I was just talking about.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, Coach. Probably went a little aggressive there. So why should I learn slapping? Now we had been at 18 and under 3 years. Okay, so we came up from the glory of winning 14s and blah blah blah, but we hadn't done anything at 18s in 3 years. And so Mike looks at me and says, "Hey, you've already mastered 25th place. So if that's all you're shooting for, you don't need to learn anything, right?" And I'm a guy. Look, if I shoot it, you shoot it back. Respect. Like that's
we're good.
you got to be able to take it. Right? I said, "Okay, air's cleared. Tell me why you told me that." He says, "Tony, I'm a baseball guy too. If you haven't noticed, I've done pretty good here. We've done pretty good here the last few years.
A little bit.
Downplayed it." And he said, "Look it, slappers put pressures on defense." And at that time, Scott, I'm going to say the pitchers were still at 40 feet. Okay, there was still a lot of 40-foot pitching. So pitchers on top of hitters, the ability to take big hacks. Back when I first started coaching, you didn't see a lot of them. You go back to the first Arizona power hitters and the Laura Espinosas and there were a lot of great hitters, but they were the first. It was a very short-minded game.
Yeah.
But he said they put pressure on the defense, like they create chaos. And he said if you put a lineup together that balances both, right? And so then I went and I listened to Amy Shellevold. I got to spend some time with her. And she was one of Arizona's first slappers. I don't know if I could say she was the first, but one of the first slappers that really worked with Larry Ray, because she was a volleyball player when she walked on at University of Arizona. And the way that I saw it, and to describe it, is that they took athletes and allowed them to be athletic, running to first base and tapping the ball on the way there. So when you say words like, beautiful or majestic, or that touches my heart, because I like the way the game looks. I want the game to look good. You watch a major league player, there's beauty in the way they throw. There's beauty in the swing. I mean, pretty common answers. If you ask the most beautiful swing in baseball, you get certain things. Well, there's certain things stylistically. So I got to study the best. I got to learn the best. And if we can slip a clip in here that I'll send you, the Arizona Slappers were the first ones that I saw get to first base actually in a game in under 2.8 seconds. So we know that for the most part, everybody's a 2.7 on their profile right now.
Yeah.
But contact in a game is contact of your bat and then to the foot hitting the base. That's your true time. And in all my years of studying, the amount of kids that can get to first base in let's say 7 seconds out of 100 kids, it's less than 10.
Yeah.
Now you happen to be getting probably 90% of those kids, but that's that. And getting to first base faster. How many times are slappers out by half a step? So here's the last thing that I'll leave, and then I'll ask you a couple of questions. So the key to hitting is, okay, your ability to get the bat on the ball is one thing, but your ability to hit mistakes and to get middle pitches and to work the center of the zone, well, that's directly proportionate to the caliber of pitcher that you're facing. And you and I both know that the higher caliber pitcher we're facing, the less balls we get middle. So now the onus on our hitters to be more selective, to be more patient, to not expand, and to maybe have to go down and get a pitch, which great hitters can do. But now you're minimizing those players. But now you're maximizing the lefties that can touch a rise ball, touch a drop. But then back to your point, if I'm going to bring nothing more insulting in travel ball than to bring the left fielder in on the dirt, right? So if that's all you have,
Yeah.
well, now you're kind of limiting yourself strategically. So when I work with a kid, I tell her, look, you don't even have to hit the ball swinging away. Just swing as hard as you can, miss the ball, and stand there like you're saying to the other
Yeah.
coach, you're lucky I missed that.
Yeah.
And you're going to hear that coach whistle and move his left fielder back.
Yeah.
Because as soon as that coach sees that you could swing the bat, he's not thinking, will you hit it? He's thinking you can hit it. So even just showing the swing creates now space between the shortstop and the left fielder that now you can kind of poke that higher pitch in between that seam. And so it's really a strategical component, Scott, that gives you, I mean, bottom line is we want 9 or 10 successive hitters that create pressure, however that happens, right? We don't want a pitch caller to be able to breathe, right? So when you talk about that step on the throat or whatever that competitive thing is, we want to submerge the pitch caller in mental and emotional exhaustion of having to work so hard because you can't take a pitch off that, hey, you beat us at the end of the game. We just know you paid a price for it.
Yeah.
But if you're 6 through 9, you know, they could sit there and look at the scouts, the bats for your first 5 hitters on your last part of your lineup. You're not creating successive pressure. So it's almost like dunking someone under the water. You could push someone's head under the water once. It's kind of funny. Push it under 2 times. Okay, funny. Okay, push it under 12 times. They're trying to catch their breath, right? And so that's the fun part of learning the slap game, why I believe they're still relevant. But to your point, the evolution of today's game, they are complete athletes. I call them the ultimate tool, the ultimate weapon, including why not let them hit right-handed if they started right-handed and they have that ability to maybe come up the 3rd or 4th at bat, and you've got nothing on that kid as a right-handed batter. Now you're in a 1-run game and you got no intel on a kid, and she goes back and you don't know what her strengths are. You don't even know, so why even like stop them one side or the other, right? So I want people to think about that. And then question I had for you, and then kind of we'll start moving along, is who influenced you as far as stylistically when you started teaching, when you started either working with Jade, like what instructors, slappers, who influenced the style and what went into your teaching?
Yeah, it was easy. It was Tony Rico.
That-
It was Tony
that
Rico.
was a-
No, I'm not bullshitting you,
I
bro.
would have asked that shit if you were going to say that.
No, I know that, but I know you wouldn't. But I just told you I used to watch those weird videos y'all would put out on YouTube, and it would be in your cage, the basketball gym that you had.
Yeah. So
And
would you just
no.
copy it, watch it and copy like we did growing
I
up?
just paid attention
Right.
to footwork, and I paid attention to different things. Larry Ray, obviously, I reached out to him at one point and flew him out here to Texas to New Braunfels, and he did a camp for us, and I really kind of picked his brain. He came a day early, and yeah, but I'm not joking you. It was you. It was like we were all chasing, bro. We were all chasing the West Coast when it came to that.
Right.
Like we were all trying to. I'll tell you something. What was wild? Caitlin Lowe, and I don't know if this individual is her husband now, but she was living in Texas in this area for a period of time because her husband was a baseball player. I think maybe he was in Round Rock or something. I don't know. I don't know the full detail, but she was here. She actually did a lesson with Jade, and like that was like you're talking about like that's Ken Griffey, like Ken Griffey doing
It's the best of the best right there.
Yes, yes.
Caitlin has the fastest time I've ever recorded to first base. I mean, I would just every game I watch it, I have a stopwatch in my hand.
Yeah.
USA was playing Japan in the U.S. Cup. Japan threw Caitlin inside, so she was kind of tapering off towards first a little bit. Her first step was already down. She makes contact almost as her second step was hit the ground, which you would have called her out of the box, another point. But her second step was almost out of the ground, and I hit my watch and I get a 2.55.
That's ridiculous.
And I said, no. So I did it 10 times, Scott. And I got anywhere from a 2.52 to a 2.59 to try to just be slower, quicker on it. And then I called Larry Ray. I said, I think I just got the world records time to first base. And let's just say Larry, for whatever reason, wasn't anywhere near as excited as I was. So I was like, okay, maybe I should have called someone else. But I was like, dude, Caitlin Lowe has the fastest time I've ever recorded to first base. And that was a legit, let's just call it a 2.55.
Well, and I'll tell you this, just because I think it's important to share, is I think sometimes as coaches, and I deal with this with my own bomber coaches and kids that are lefty slappers, and they try to devalue that part of their game. And there's a place where that becomes super valuable. Excuse me. I'm a big total bases guy. right? Like a lot of people want to talk about their batting average. They look at batting averages and OPS and OPS plus, and I'm a big stat person and we use analytics a bunch. But to simplify it, like the true value of a player for me, it's total bases offensively. Because if I have a home run hitter, she hits one home run, it's 4 total bases. Like she got that, she did that. But a slapper that can get herself on with a single, steal second, steal third, and do that twice has 6 total bases. Like she can become more valuable to me than the one kid who can hit a home run every 8 at bats, right? And what's that total base count look? So projecting out total base counts over the course of a 50 game season, whatever, really starting to try to figure out a true value number for a player and how you figure they're going to factor into your run score. And so for me, like, I think it's super important for coaches just to remember the value that a slapper brings in being on base, because that's the goal. If we can get more people on base than them, we won't touch home more than them, and that's a big deal. And I was very fortunate. I coached. I think I arguably will go down. It tells you how bad a coach I am. I'm just going to tell you. It tells you how bad a coach I am. I had a travel ball team that had Caden Henry, Mia Scott, and Maya Davis in the 1, 2, 3. Like, and if anybody out there that don't know those names, just Google them.
Right.
Just Google them. That was my 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Every one of them could slap. Every one of them could swing a weight. Every one of them could bunt. And they were a fit for people because the style that we could play and how it trickled down into our offense. And then the other thing is, if people don't realize this, I can't tell you how many times you talk about having your slappers take that big hack to make them back up. Right. I had my power lefty sometimes move through the box on the first pitch just to probe the defense with them, like, whoa, and then they're doing the exact opposite. So that anything that you do that can have that sort of impact on a defense, pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful.
I had the privilege of being in the third base box as Mia Scott launched a few balls against us in Colorado. And I just told her, I think in the 4th or 5th inning, I said, I'm going to tell you, I consider myself very fortunate to be this close to watching you play, because it was like
she's so
ridiculous.
Good, man.
Like
she's so good. She can't spell softball either, though. Like she's like,
who cares?
Like there's so many kids, that, and you know this. You've worked with so many more kids than I have. There's so many kids that just grind out working to try to be the best on planet Earth. Mia wakes up, puts her shoes on. She just rolls out, dog. Yeah, she just rolls out. Like, oh, why are y'all working so hard? What's this all about? Yeah. What's this practice thing y'all call practice?
Hey, and that's a great thing about softball. I mean, there's such a mix of so many different types. So, all right, here's a last question on slapping for you. If there was a piece of advice or something you would want to share to coaches who work with their slappers that could make a difference in their game, or something you might see out there a lot that, man, I wish I could help them with this. So is anything that stand out where you would offer one piece of advice that you could share with coaches who work with lefties?
Yeah, I would say this. I mean, this is assuming that they've got some mechanics that they're working with, is for coaches to let slappers learn how to read the defense, like to not tell them what to do, because there's so many times they're going against the numbers, and you got a 45-year-old dude over here saying what to do before the defense is even in a position. And I simplify it with our players, like, hey, if the third baseman's back behind the 75% mark, you should bunt every time. You should bunt 100% of the time. Yeah. Like, just don't. It's like don't hit on 17. Stop hitting on 17. You'll stop losing, right? And if she's inside that, then read the shortstop. Your very next move is just read the shortstop. Okay. Right? If she's cheating 5-6 hole, hit it up the middle.
So if she's falls in line with, like, what did you see?
Yeah.
Like, why did you do what you did?
But when you tell her what to do all the time, then she doesn't understand the why part. Right. Why to pull this tool out versus this tool or whatever. I think that so many times I get slappers a little bit later and they don't have that concept. They just don't. And that's a struggle to me, because I think the game is real dynamic in the way that we're defending lefties and slappers and so much that it's required. Like, it's just required for them to really have an understanding of the plan and approach part of slapping. The plan and approach part to hitting is a big deal. It's a lost art. and we're going to talk about that on a whole other show. But I think for slappers, it's maybe even more important because you have so many weapons to, it's like a Swiss Army knife. Like you have so many you can pull out. Man, you got to know the when, the why, the what, the where. There's so much.
That's the beauty of the chess match,
Yeah.
right? That paying attention to detail, taking in information that's all around you, and that could change like every 10 seconds, if you're really paying attention in softball. So I think that's a really good point. Maybe a point to coaches too, Scott, would be because, I started with training wheels. They're not sure. So we have simple approaches. Like I said, we'll talk about things like that in future episodes, but maybe tell them why you put on a certain play. And then you progress to, hey, so why did I make that call? Why do you think I called for that particular skill? And then later it's like, so what's your approach to this situation? You graduate them to that, because even when they go to college, even though someone's put in a play on, it's like pitchers, right? Don't just get the number and throw. Get the number and know what you're going to do with the pitch, right?
I would challenge T. You're going to hate me for saying this, but I would challenge people when y'all's team is at a ballpark to go watch how you coach your team in game, like what you're doing and walking up and down the dugout and teaching them the game while the game's happening and the why and the whole like we get this on trying to win the game, right? Now, most people don't realize, if you haven't had the luxury of trying to play against Tony's team, he's got about 750 years of experience in his dugout, right? Like he's got legends. They have this tent that's set up, and there's like it's like the four horsemen sitting back there. Like you're coaching third base and you're looking over your shoulder and you're like,
we're like comfort, dude. Scotty. Why? I don't need a tan. I gotta have some shade.
I'm just telling you though. But you got Don Menard, you got all these guys over there, and it's a little intimidating. I ain't gonna bullshit you, bro. It's a little intimidating, but it's real impressive. And let's just say this, because you're not gonna like a bomber coach coming into your dugout in the middle of your game. But if you're a firecracker coach, you wouldn't stop a bomber coach, because I know that's who you are. But if you were firecracker coach in that program, and you have the luxury of asking Tony, hey man, could I go sit in the corner in one of y'all's games and watch?
Come on in.
Yeah, you should absolutely do it, because it's impressive, and there's an ease of it. There's a sense of ease, and those players are getting a master course in that part of the game in real time while bullets are flying, right? And go back to military training. Like we try to replicate live fire as much as possible, but your heart don't beat the same way, right? Your heart's not beating at that rate because it's not real. You do a good job in game with that, man. And it helps because you got other good coaches around you that can kind of drive the car and do the certain things that's got to happen. But I would just challenge anybody that's ever, in fact, what should happen, and we might do this with Two in the Mud team. We put a camera up in the corner and film that and let people in on it, because I don't know how to do that yet. I'm being honest with people. I don't know how to do it. I lock in. Remember, I'm the one trying to drag you to deep water and watch you laugh at your ass trying to swim back because you can't make it, right? I don't have the luxury of doing that, and I'm not good at that, and I want to be better at it. But I've seen it in real time. Like I've been in the third base box listening to Tony do his thing, and they're in the middle of the game, and the players are locked in on UT, and it's cool. It's a cool thing to watch. And so I think that there's some of that. I think we got to teach the game a little better. I think we get a lot of shitty criticism from people saying, oh, they're not teaching the game at travel ball. We're getting you're wrong. You're wrong. We got kids that are showing up as freshmen that are being All-Americans, so stop. Right? That's too broad a statement when they talk about how bad travel ball is in teaching the game.
It probably comes from the fact that, like I tell people, listen, our orgs have a lot of teams, right? And they're not all the top level. And that's really not the requirement, right, for being part of our culture. But, travel coaches are volunteers. They're all volunteers. And so as each inadequacy or injustice happens or whatever, and then if we fired each one and they're gone, who's going to replace them? The next volunteer. I'll mention to maybe a mom, go, then your husband or you are as the next one, because how many coaches got into coaching because their daughter needed a coach, or they're an ex-player that this is what they love to do. But again, did they have the opportunity to be around professionalism? Did they have an opportunity to be around someone that understands something the way teachers understand curriculum and year to year
Yeah.
development? That's the other thing, Scott, that again, there's so many things that we will talk about, but you are leading the way and the innovator, and I'll call it tech education, right? It's not just data and what you did to kind of get your program over the top, but the Eugenes, the different people that you have that are now sharing perspectives, and they're online, right? Their reels are
Yeah.
online. And so that's where, I encourage coaches to, everyone likes to talk the game, but coaches, you don't have to invest in coaching courses. I mean, they're out there. We have them. You could do that. Great. But
There's so
invest,
much information out
but
there now.
invest like there's so many
Yeah.
great reels online now.
You want to go
you can
follow.
hear Bonds and Maddox break down the same at bat. You could hear so much insight to like great players and what they thought, that it's a great educational source. I'm a TikTok grad is what I am right now.
Yeah.
That's
The kids make fun of me because I have TikTok. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're trying to absorb information, and this is a plug for them because they're worth plugging, is go follow 108 Performance. Go watch what they're doing. Like Paul Skeens, that's where Paul Skeens came up, right? Like that's where he came. He started as a young guy and came through that. Like they're doing things that are nuts, and they're the best out there, and it's worth a follow. Like it's worth a follow. You're gonna learn something, so yeah, I think it's big. So let's drift away from softball just for
Yeah.
a second, right? Because you and I like talking about a lot of other shit other than softball. Like, what is like if you're what are you doing this weekend? Like, where would Tony, if I was in Huntington Beach and I was gonna go out for a nice dinner, where does that happen there? Like, where are you going, bro?
We got to kind of these segments have to be like, we're humanizing now. We're going to be people, right? I don't know how to be a person.
You're going to be one because I'm going to make you one.
So I think about how many coaches are creatures of habit, right? And starting like when you start coaching in your 30s, and then you hit all the.
I'm flying into to your neck of the woods, and I'm going to go out for a nice. Do they
Nice
have
steak dinner.
Do y'all have
Nice steak
steaks?
dinner.
Do y'all have steaks in California?
Quit talking shit. You're going to BLK's.
BLK. Okay, I'm writing this down.
It's
I'm writing
right
it
off,
down.
It's right off of Main Street in Huntington Beach.
Okay.
It's a second-story restaurant. As soon as you get there, because you know.
Do I have to dress up? Do I have to dress up
no,
for this
no,
place?
No, you're good. There's a balcony
Okay.
out there right on the water. You
It's on the
can
water.
get dressed. You could go either. To be honest with you, call it like
Okay.
a casual. And if you
It's
want
on
to
the
have
water,
a
though.
nice anniversary dinner, that's where I would send someone if they said, "Hey, I want to take my wife out for a nice dinner." Definitely go dress
What
yourself
steak?
up a
What
little bit.
steak cut are you getting? What are you getting?
You
What's
know,
your- what's your favorite?
I like the leaner fillets, but a good ribeye.
Yeah,
I tell you
it's
what,
tough,
just
man.
little off topic, but not. I started going to Butcher Box, for our home meat here, and getting, dude. that
What is a
whole-
butcher box, bro?
Butcher Box is where we get our meat in the mail, and it is a whole different quality of steak.
See,
and
do
everything.
you understand, bro? Do you understand how? Like, I'm in Texas, dog. You
I
might
know
get
you,
my
you,
meat
you,
in the
you
mail,
cut your
bro.
own in the backyard. I know.
Well, I don't know if I'm cutting my own in the backyard, but bro, like if I said to my buddies that I get my steaks in the mail, they'd be like, "What the fuck? What are you talking about?" Like,
I might
no,
be
you
getting them
don't.
from Texas.
Yeah, you buy our. So
All right,
you're
BLKs. BLKs.
so you're
is
going
where
with the
you're going.
ribeye. You're going
Okay.
with the ribeye.
I'll probably
Okay.
go with a good ribeye, high quality though.
Okay.
And then you're going to BLKs, and then for after the
How's
game,
the ribeye cooked though? How do you have it cooked? Medium rare.
I'm a medium. I could do a little medium rare.
I got you. Okay.
I don't like it. I don't like it bleeding and moving still.
I got you.
And then you're going to Rip Pizza for after a game just to grab. Rip Pizza has. So I'm a big, thin, kind of a thinner, no big floppy. I watch all the Dave Portnoy stuff, and man, Rip Pizza has like the best pizza around here. So BLKs for your steak, Rip Pizza for your just kind of your pizza and beer, and then Mario's Mexican restaurant if you want to get into a little chips and salsa and have a tecate or a dosa.
Mario's. Is Mario's more California Mexican food?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not
It is.
Tex-Mex. It's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
What's
I
the
have a hard
difference? How do you see the difference between Tex-Mex and
Tex-Mex
yeah.
and well, here it's what they call shit, right? Like what they call it. Like Jade was playing. This is a true story. Jade was playing at Fullerton when she was in college. It came out for a tournament at Fullerton. So I'm in that your relative neck of the woods, right?
Yep.
Some morning, I get up and we're gonna go have breakfast. Me and another dad of the team that we all travel together, and he's from Houston. Me being from the San Antonio area, so we're like, dude, let's go find a Mexican restaurant. Let's go get some huevos rancheros. Like, all right, yeah, man, let's go. Let's get it, bro. We had to drive around. We had to drive around. I know we drove around for an hour. Okay, trying to find a place. Like, and I'm trying to talk to people. Hey, bro, like, where's a good Mexican restaurant for breakfast? So finally, we found a place. Order huevos rancheros. There's a tortilla underneath the eggs. Okay, that ain't happening in Texas, bro.
Where did you go?
I don't even know, bro. But they had the tortilla under the eggs.
Did you order from Denny's? What the?
No, it wasn't. Like, I'm not done with this breakfast deal either, right? So that was one day, right? So I had to like go through the whole whip. Like, we're used to like this, bro. Like this. This is how they do it in Texas. So this is the tortilla, right? So you tear a piece of the tortilla off, right? Right? So you got it in your hand and you reach down and you grab it.
That's the way we eat, bro. That's the way we eat.
No, bro, but like, I can't do it if the tortilla's underneath the eggs and all the other shit, right? I couldn't do it. Like, I was disappointed. So that disappointed me.
Okay.
That disappointed. So day 2, hey, bro, let's just simplify it. Let's go eat some breakfast tacos. Yeah. Let's go do that. Y'all don't have breakfast tacos. You have burritos. Like, and so I argue with people about what a burrito is and what a breakfast taco is. A taco is something that folds, right?
A Mexican will tell you there's a stack of tortillas on the kitchen table, and you can throw anything in that baby, and
But don't roll it up.
Oh, you just fold it in half, or you could do a third. Doesn't matter. You're just throwing it in there. It's really simple. Boom, boom, boom.
Y'all don't have breakfast tacos in California. You don't have them.
You could find them, not easy. Here's what Mike Stith would tell you, and this is how he finds his places to eat. You got to find where the old beat up pickup trucks are in the parking lot.
This is true.
Because
This
that's
is
where
true. I love the hole in
that's
the
where
wall.
that's where our boys are going to eat, and that's where if the boys are eating there, then it's
Yeah.
good food.
And it's
You
all
don't,
you
you
put
don't, you
the
don't
hole
go
in
to
the
the
wall.
commercial brick and mortar. Everything looks good, and it's a chain. I don't know
Yeah.
about that. That might be
Yeah,
really tough.
the food is good there. I argue with one of my coaches. He's from here. He argues with me that the food in California is better than Texas as far as Mexican food. Nah, I'm like, bro, I'm not. You're not. I don't think I'm gonna go down that path. There's a lot of stuff out there way better than Texas, but man, it's really difficult for me to say Mexican food's better. Like, I just
And I
don't know.
think it's an acquired taste. 'Cause
And I think that's what we should put a poll up on our socials,
Tex-Mex.
like, and let people say what's better, Mexican food from Texas or Mexican food from California. And don't just be a homer, right? If you like Mexican, like my buddy, like our coach Mark, and he's Hispanic. His name is Mark Vasquez. Like, and I'm like, Mark, you're Hispanic, bro, and you're trying to tell me that the Mexican food in California way is better than Texas? I don't even know.
It's funny because Scott, we grew up in where we live and we eat the same things. I remember I thought chorizo was just chorizo, and then man, I tried like somebody else's chorizo once, and I was like, "What the frick is this, dude? I don't even know what was in there." So they're just all acquired taste. All right, here's
Yeah.
one for you. Okay, you're done with Sundays. All right, done with your practices, doing whatever you did,
Yep.
killing it, and you go home and you decompress with what? Cocktail, beer. What's the wind down for Scott when he gets home on a Sunday
Man,
night?
I'll tell you, I've really gotten heavy into drinking. Not drinking. I don't mean it that way, but you
Understandable.
better take that rope. That's gonna get clipped. That's all.
Yeah, there you
I've
go.
really got heavy into drinking.
There you go.
I've gotten really heavy into drinking. I like drinking bourbon and whiskey. I'm a bourbon and whiskey guy in that respect. I call myself a guy.
So do you have
love-
glasses? Certain
Yeah,
glass?
I have a bar,
You
bro.
put
I
the
have 2
s-
bars.
You put the
I have 2
smoke in
bars
your
my
glass?
house. No, I don't. That's an old fashioned. I'm not. I don't like it like that.
Okay.
And my friends will tell me I mess it up by putting a little Coke in it, right? Right? They'll drink it with water, or they'll drink it straight on a big rock or something.
All right.
I don't like it like that necessarily.
So what's your brand or the latest brand that you've had that you really like?
I'm real big on Blanton's. Blanton's is so good, and Eagle Rare. Like, Eagle Rare is tough. That's tough to beat, man.
So you get home, have a cocktail or two,
Mm-hmm.
then dinner time, then it's
Yep.
But you're not taking phone calls from irate pitchers' parents all night.
Man, I honestly don't take very many of those phone calls.
Hey, relevant point number whatever to coaches. Hey, man, your Sunday nights are yours.
Yeah, just side button it. Just press the side button. Any of those conversations, they probably need 24 hours to chill. Like if you still, I tell people like, hey man, I know you're pissed, whatever, sleep on it, bro. And if you're still this, yeah, if you're still this pissed tomorrow, bro, call me. We'll talk. We'll talk about it. I ain't gonna agree with you, probably, but I'll listen to you. I mean that's just not a thing. But yeah, I love Blanton's and I love Eagle Rare. We have this cool. It's really cool, man. New Braunfels is where I live. Is turning into like a mini Nashville. Like it's cool, man. Like rooftop bars. Like we just had this one rooftop bar built. It just opened called Cowboys and Cadillacs. It's like 3 levels, bro. It's fire. Like it's legit. They got a big music venue. Like when you come down this way, you and I are gonna go there. Whoa, we're gonna have breakfast tacos in the morning at a Mexican restaurant, and then at night we're gonna go to Cowboys and Cadillacs and
there you go.
Take care. Yeah,
Cowboys and Cadillacs. Well, as long as they have Dos Equis, because I don't. Yeah, that whole area. When we went down and spent some time with you, that whole area between Austin and San Antonio, that's all kind of developing now, right?
It's crazy. I think our zip code is the second or the fastest growing zip code in the country.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I like that or not, right. but it's happening.
Right.
There's a lot of people from California moving here. I met we have a lot of people who played softball.
What a surprise!
Yeah, what a surprise! But there are a lot of softball players, like that come here and they're familiar with the Bombers and they used to play softball in California, and that's how I've met so many different people from California. But yeah, no, it's cool and there's a lot of growth. But
all right, so what's the ideal dinner on a Sunday night after a cocktail? Now, is there a traditional dinner?
Am I staying in or going out?
So what do you do? Do you stay in most Sundays? Do you head out every now and then? Sometimes
I think we head out.
A little tired, but all right.
So I'm very fortunate. I live downtown in Braunfels, so my wife and I could literally walk to the restaurants and the bars close to us, and we have a really cool place called Cody's, and they have the absolute best ribeye, and it is a cool little small place, a great vibe. You'd like it. It's cool. Yeah, that's the place to go chill and have a little chill time.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to throw some food questions at you. All right?
Yep.
Onions or no onions?
Nah, no onions, man. I don't like onions.
I appreciate you. Pineapple on pizza?
I have done that. I like it sometimes,
bro.
But I don't know why I like it. Like sometimes I like it on there, and hey, that was
Texas.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I just don't order it with that.
Tomatoes and ketchup, tomatoes or ketchup?
Both.
Like both. No tomatoes for me. Oh, thank you.
You don't like tomatoes?
No, dude, but I'll turn them into ketchup. I'm all over it. Tomato sauce on pasta? Oh, yeah, but I don't know what it is about a tomato, man. That's funky. I don't know what it is. Texture, taste?
I'm not a big fruit and vegetables guy. Like people that know me really know that about me. I'm a meat and potatoes kind of dude. So yeah, but I will eat a hamburger with tomatoes and lettuce and stuff.
A little lettuce on it.
Mm-hmm.
Doritos or Cheetos?
Man, they're both good. If I had to choose, I'd probably say Doritos. What about you?
What flavor?
Just a regular old. Is there another flavor than the nacho cheese?
Dude, Cool Ranch, bro. The blue bag.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
No, not you.
I can't.
Cheetos, once they came out with those Flamin' Hots, but at my age, that's an occasional. I'm trying not to blow up my esophagus in my last trimester of life. So,
dude, my daughter would get those Flamin' Hot Cheetos and then put hot sauce on that.
And then when those Takis came out, I tried one of those for my kids back. Those are radioactive, whatever that is. I don't even know how that just doesn't bore a hole right through you.
Yeah, the stuff that these kids eat today is so different.
Are you an adventurous eater or more mainstay, stick to the basics?
Because I'm so much of a meat and potatoes guy, I tend to be less adventurous. But I'm not opposed to looking at it and then considering it. Like I won't just turn my nose up, but if it don't have the right look, I'm really big on look of food. Like if it looks jacked up, I ain't gonna eat it. Or if it's got a little bit weird texture to it, I can't do that. I'm not gonna go.
I want to be adventurous, but I'm not.
You're not?
I can, yeah. Me and my boy could watch a show and go, oh yeah, and then, but if you put it in front,
Do you like to? Do you cook a lot? Do you like to cook?
but it's the same five things for the last 30 years. If you
Yeah.
open up my kids, they're full of chicken nuggets and pizza. Probably that's what got us through the being a single parent and being a softball coach at the same time. So
The only time I like to cook is when I got a cold beer in my hand. I'm outside. That's it.
what's your beer of choice?
Dude, Modelo has this green. It's Modelo green label. It's called Limon y Salt. And bro, I don't know if
I
you've
love
had
it.
it. Dude, it's
I
the
buy
best.
the tall can.
Well, for a while, that's all they sold
Yeah.
here. So I used to look like I was the wino guy walking out with 4 or 5 of them because you couldn't get the little ones. Now you can buy the little ones. So
Tahine or
Yeah.
no tahine?
I like tahini on some things. Like if I order a, margarita or something, they'll put a little stuff on there.
Not like our boy Marty. He carries his tahine wherever he goes. You know
Dude,
that, right? He takes his
Marty's-
tahine wherever he goes.
Oh, he's got it in his back pocket of his Lulus. Like, I got Jack with Marty all the time. Like, bro, like if we're in a new city, he gonna find a Lulu store. He's shopping at that Lulu store while if he's in a different place. Like he's gonna find the Lulu store and he gonna have something.
If you guys haven't figured it out yet, we're talking about our good
Marty
friend Marty
Tyson.
Tyson. Who would have thunk? Who would have thought? Right?
We'll have a whole
We'll get
show.
deeper into that.
No, we'll have a whole show on Marty
Yeah,
Tyson,
we'll-
and I'll tell about the time he reached across the table and ate my ribeye. Just
I
snatched it
probably
off.
need to get Marty and Mike in our studio, and then bring you in on the other side of it. And
Dude, we should absolutely do it.
they'll
We
do
got to
it.
do it.
They'll-
So, Tony, I want to, as we wrap up, I want to talk about a few softball games this week,
yeah,
and I want to
yeah.
get
What's
your
coming up?
predictions.
We're in the middle of
Yeah.
hot college season.
We are. This weekend is a little bit light. Like I was looking before we got on here, like big games, right? Today, the biggest game, and I don't even know if this has started yet, so I don't know if there's a finish to this game. Who you got? Oklahoma State versus Nebraska. That's a big one.
So the question for me would be, I mean, Jordy, if they throw Jordy, right? Because I don't know who their
Yeah.
other game might be against.
You got to figure this is an RPI game.
Okay, so she can handle most teams. So getting him a chance to beat anybody. And I look at where Oklahoma State's pitching is right now, which you might know better than me, how dialed in they are. And then
Well, they don't have Kilfoyle anymore, so
Right, they
they're
don't have
a
the
little bit
horse
by
for it.
committee. A
then my
little bit more
next
by
question
committee.
would be Nebraska's ability. So, again, where Oklahoma State's pitching is, mistakes made, right? Command ratio, things like that. And then where Nebraska's total offense comes in, because I haven't seen them play. So I don't know what they're at, like 1 through 9.
Yeah.
So, and then what's the rankings on both of them?
Man, I'd have to look it up.
Okay, I'm going to go.
I'm
I'll
gonna
go
look it up.
Oklahoma State because my boys Katie and Bergie are there. So I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. What about you?
I think if Jordy Ball throws, I think it's going to be tough on whoever. I would question, can Nebraska run score with
Yeah.
Oklahoma State.
And then my Oklahoma State's got my boy Brashear's kid Cheese, Megan.
The
Lee Malfoy.
center fielder?
She's
Yes.
fun to watch. So
I watched her in-
I got to stick by my people.
I watched her in
Puerto
I
Vallarta.
watched her in Puerto Vallarta. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So let me pull up the rankings here. I got them. So, yeah, Oklahoma State is ranked 15th and Nebraska is 16th. How about that game?
Yeah.
Here's a game for you tomorrow. Let's run this one by you. There's two, I think, standout softball games tomorrow that jump out on the page. Texas Tech versus Texas A&M.
So
And let's assume Nyjah throws.
I'm going to go with the very first just thing that popped in my head. Texas A&M, because of the systematic play, the experience that they have. They know how to play top teams. They know how to play top pitchers. They continue to roll. I love what Harger does with their offense. It's truly a systematic offense. I love what Trish does. Listen, our boy Jerry, I'm always a big fan of his. I'm always rooting for him. Never surprised when Jerry does what he does, but he doesn't have the same amount of bullets in the chamber. He's got one big one. So you never put it past Jerry, but if I had to put my $10 on something, I'm going to go with the Aggies.
Yeah, I'll be at that game tomorrow night, which will be cool. I would say if I had to lay a bet down, Sumanija throws
at Davis Diamond.
At Davis Diamond, I would probably bet A&M the way A&M is playing.
Is it a night game?
Like I think it's a night game, 7 o'clock. So you got Nija throwing under the lights. Obviously, it's a clear that's just a huge advantage on the mound. But A&M's ability to score and score in bunches is.
And they got athletes, and they've got that kid, that Matt kid from San Diego State, dude.
Mac Barber.
She's legit.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They've got kids that can lead the yard in one swing,
and she's not one side of the field hitter. She can hit the whole field.
The challenge will be for them, and it's not just because this kid's mine, but can they keep Maya Davis off base? Because if Maya gets on base 3 or 4 times and scores twice, 2 runs be all Nija needs, and Maya do that to you. Yeah. She get on base and score.
Yep, that's it. Speed comes in.
Here's a game for you tomorrow night. This is more in your wheelhouse. Arizona versus UCLA.
I love that Arizona is emerging. The thing that I tell you I really love about Caitlin, her first couple of years, it was a rough go. But every time you look in that dugout, we talk about travel coaches' behavior, man. She's in there dignified, not showing stuff, just kind of kept her stuff cool. And they're making some noise. They're doing really, really well. Yeah. But I'm going to give the nod to UCLA only because, again, they've got a lot of freshmen. They've done well. They've lost some tough games here, and they're beatable. But they're just a little farther along again, and I think that Caitlin is establishing a program. Lauren Lappin, her third base coach, one of the highest IQs. Her dad, Dean Lappin, is one of the best coaches I ever coached against. He recently just passed away, but his IQ was just ridiculous. So Lauren's a really high IQ player. So I'm happy for them. I'm really excited to kind of see what they do. But I'll give the Bruins a nod on that.
Yeah, I felt like it's taken Arizona a couple years for Caitlin and her staff to put their stamp on them, and what they want to, and they probably recruit. Obviously, they're recruiting y'all's kids and stuff, so they know who they want to recruit. They know the style of play they want to have. They know all those things by now.
It took them a couple of years to get some of those players because originally players weren't super excited about the change. I mean,
that's what I was wondering.
You went from Candrea to anyone else. No, all fairness, it didn't matter who you were. The person before you was Candrea. I mean, nobody would have had an easy task with that one. So give them a lot of credit for where they're at.
Yeah, no, I think I would agree with you. I think it's this early in the season; it'd be really difficult to pick that game and pick against UCLA.
I would encourage people, if they haven't seen it, is go back and there's a YouTube version of the UCLA Duke game last week. It was out here in Palm Springs, and watching UCLA kept Tinsley in the whole game. Great athletes on both teams, and then that Duke pitcher, that lefty, bro. This was a power. You don't see many games where it's Nija-esque, right? Where it's just heat in, heat up. It's coming, and then the complement of the off speed to keep everything up. But there were not a lot of mixed in pitch calls that were floating over the plate to give people opportunities to do things. They just, it was like Goose Gossage stuff. That's awesome. It was amazing. And
the crowds out there for those games too are so cool. It's awesome. My boy's daughter made a big catch to, I think, end the game. Maya Burgess was in left field, made some catch.
She flew over. Yeah. I still owe James a couple games because I think he's got me twice the couple times I've coached against in the sucker. But he's
I don't know that you're ever gonna get him back, dude. Like his son.
I know it, right?
Bro,
I think
he's done. I think, but I press him all the time about it. I said, you still have bomber stuff, bro. Like you, and but his son, dude, he's got a son that's a freshman. He's gonna play MLB.
Where at?
Like the dude, his son's down in Houston, but the
freshman
kid's like freshman in high school.
Oh, okay.
And the kid's a 6 foot, 6'1", drops. I mean, he's a man playing high school. He's a high school baseball. He's incredible.
Well, listen, man, he's made his name and he's earned it and he's done a good job. And that catch that she made in left field, flipping over the fence, and then if she would have landed in that chair that she that kind of toppled over, that would have been
that would have been
perfect
way cool.
landing. But that was a great game. It was good stuff.
Yeah. All right. So here's how I would love for us to end these things. Right. So this is on the spot thing. Right. I'm going to ask you, and then you get to ask me.
All right.
What's one big thing? And we'll call this segment One Big Thing. What's one big thing you like that's happening in softball, sports, any sport? What's one big thing that you love? In fact, it would be even cool if it wasn't about softball. But if it is, it is. But what's one big thing that you want people to really like, hey, appreciate this right now. Go check this out. Or I love this about this. This is our way of ending our segments with one big thing.
The one big thing out there is that there is a perspective. I could even say there's an altitude perspective that's higher up that doesn't get so absorbed in what I call the trench warfare down on the ground. You see everything that everyone else sees. But, I like to use the analogy of like Derek Jeter's parents on television, right? That there was never a shot. The camera used to go to them all the time after he'd make an error, whatever it is, and they always had the same look. Yeah. Now, it's not just compartmentalizing behavior. The one big thing that I want people to know is that if you listen to people that have peace, balance, and success, they have a perspective that goes with it. And the greatest thing about perspective is that it can change. And it doesn't have to change only through fear. Right? Like our perspective is going to change on our diet when our cardiologist says you're about to die if you keep eating, that, right?
Yeah.
But when you can be inspired to change perspective, and that's the thing, if there was a second answer, it would be all the collaborations that we're part of right now, like all the mutual respect relationships we have. But the perspective that allows you to be truly happy, at peace, and still be in kick-ass mode, handle the win with humility, handle the loss with dignity, but never cross the line, so that you can always walk in the ballpark and not have to say, don't walk over there because there's that family or there's that coach. Yeah. So that's the one big thing, Scott, that in episode number 1 is that, man, what I want from the bottom of my heart for everyone in this sport is like to sit back and us to think like, man, if this was the last day we're ever going to be on the field because the meteor is going to hit us tomorrow, we're going to have one hell of a good day today, and we're going to compete. We're going to go at it, but in the end, we're not going to lose respect. So that's it for me, man. What about you?
Well, I'll tell you, we're coming up. This is a really good time for watching sports, right? Like, got spring games, spring baseball, spring training baseball games on like during the day all day long. This stays on for me. We're coming up on March Madness. We're coming up on the fact that the NFL draft is a month and a half away or so. NBA basketball's on. Like, there's all these reasons for us to watch sports. I'm going to challenge people to watch sports with a different lens and just appreciate how athletic and how talented athletes are today versus what they were, and especially watch female athletes. Like, watching women's college basketball. How many people would have 10 years ago said, hey, I'm going to watch some women's college basketball?
It's not a noble sport anymore. They're playing the game the right way, and it's pleasing to the eye, like you said earlier.
Oh, it's so cool, man. It's so cool. And I literally, I love with my Apple TV, I can quad my screen, and I'll have a basketball game on this TV, a softball game on this TV, an NBA game on this TV, and I'm just a sports fan in general. But I really would love for us to appreciate where sports has gone, and we coach female athletes, so I really would challenge people to appreciate where female athletes are today. Like flipping over the fence, that's not the first time it's happened. We get to see it a lot more, right? Appreciate that. Like, that's been happening. Just appreciate that. We got Athletes Unlimited Softball League, the AUSL's coming up, and that's ramping up. Man, when that comes out, people need to watch those. The ratings on TV need to be high so that people will invest in that, and sponsors will spend money advertising, and the players will get paid more. All these things need to happen but it comes with an appreciation of why. And the why part is that's what we're supposed to do is appreciate talent. And that's it people are talented, man.
Well, tip of the day to anyone that doesn't have Apple TV yet, it's going to be worth it. Buy the little Apple box, and
You get
can
the quality.
you can multicast games. You
Yeah.
can put 4 at a time. ESPN Plus app. If you don't have that, man, you're missing hundreds of
Yeah.
softball games. What is it, 10, $11 a month or something like that?
Yeah, it's
And
the
you
best.
got everybody that's streaming games is on there. I think that's huge. And so
We're gonna get an ESPN sponsorship. They're gonna appreciate us promoting their stuff.
Well, I keep hearing that da 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 da. So I don't know
Yeah,
if that's
it's
your
my
phone or your
freaking.
sports center.
It's my iPad, and they was just letting me know that
I
the
think you
Atlanta
could go ahead and
Braves
do
are
that.
at the,
Who's your NBA team?
the San
Spurs?
Antonio Spurs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you don't have much
that's-
thoughts on the Luka trade?
I do have thoughts on it. There has to be so much more behind the scenes of that trade for the Mavericks to trade away a generational talent like Luka Doncic.
Something we don't know, maybe.
There has to be. There has to be. Like he dated the GM's wife or something. Like there has to be something that happened that made that guy go, "You're gone, bro.
Yeah,
like
you're gone."
you're out of here." Because it can't be about talent, and not that Anthony Davis is not good, but you just don't do it.
Right.
I'm disappointed. Our guy Wendy's out for the rest of the year with that blood clot in his shoulder, and that's different. So
Man.
yeah, it sucks. I'm an Astros fan in baseball. Are you an? I know you gave me your tickets to the Angels that one
So
year.
we like all of our home teams here, except for the Rams. When they left, I never took them back. So, okay, I watched a couple games this year, but I took that pretty hard. Kind of like the
Are you
Brooklyn
going-
Dodgers, But I like all of our home teams. I don't like when the Dodgers play the Angels. Obviously, the Dodgers are the breadwinners right
That's
now.
not even fair, bro.
But
That's not fair what they're doing.
yeah, I know. But you know what? Fuck
That team's not beatable at this point. That team is not beatable at this point.
Well, no, hey, you know this. So if I'm competing, that's the fun part of playing those teams. Is that
Oh yeah.
But
you're not going to.
Where's the kink in the armor? Because they're not going to go undefeated. Because now you got all
Are-
different things, and
Are you over or under 110 wins for them?
so the whole picture changes when their pitchers aren't healthy. And
Bro, they got
and-
800.
and-
They had
and-
800 of them.
Listen to this. We had a meeting on our PCFL meeting this morning with someone that works inside the industry and works in healthcare and stuff like that. And the Dodgers have the highest amount of injuries to their prospects, and that's directly proportionate to the amount of high velocity throwers that they have. Okay, now you would probably know this stat more than I would, but we were told this morning that the Dodgers average like 1 out of every 4 of their top draft picks, I don't know what rounds, go to the big leagues. Someone like the Rockies is like 1 out of 20. So their injuries are higher because they have more high velocity, but they're missing something, and then they have the money to go replace. So when somebody gets hurt, they have the money to go get someone else. So there's a component in there to longevity that I think is going to be interesting to watch over a year's course of time, because it's easy to say right now they're going to only lose X amount of games, right? But health.
Dude, it's just nuts. If Otani comes back and he actually gets to pitch along with what they have, like Yamamoto and all, come on, man, come on. But I heard a stat this morning. I had MLB Network on, and they were at spring training, and they said, guys, this is the evolution of the athlete. This is what I was talking about. Guys are throwing. We're talking about a week into spring training. A week into spring training. Guys are throwing, on average, 2 miles an hour harder than they did at the end of the season. And that's because of the technology and the training they're doing in the offseason. Yeah, they're showing up throwing harder on day one. Like day one of spring training versus what they were throwing, in the height of the season. Like their velos are way up. And so, you see the girl, like Pickens, she tied Monica Abbott for 77 miles an hour. Like, bro, I was in the stadium. This is no joke. I was in the stadium. The Yak Tech was on in Hall of Fame Stadium during Nija's game against OU when she was throwing. She was throwing 76.4 miles an hour in that game.
So that's a good question, because, people have the question of, are the guns juiced, on ESPN? So you have some insight to that.
I think sometimes they are, but I had
Across the board, they might be.
I think for a little bit they are. I'll tell you this: I was down in Mexico, and they had data capture, and the girl, she's a sophomore. Can't think of her name. Sophomore from Oklahoma State. She was throwing 71.7. I mean, she was almost at 72. Like, that's a real thing. Like, I think the velo's way up just across the country. Kids are learning to throw harder. They're better athletes. But now here's a fun fact. So in the game that Nyjah was throwing against OU, I don't know if you remember in the first inning, Jada Coleman was up, and she fouled off like 6 or 7 balls late down the left field line. And Nyjah's throwing 76, and she was late. Couldn't get her barrel there, couldn't get it out front, ended up flying out to the left fielder. And they had runners on in that point. Take it to the end of the game. I think it was the 5th or the 6th. Jada Coleman comes up. Nyjah went from throwing 76 to 71. Jada Coleman gets the base hit, gives them the lead. She couldn't hit her at 76. Nobody ever ramps up for 76. But 71, that's a velo that she'd seen 100 million times. And it wasn't the difference between 76 and 71 to arguably one of the best players in college softball. 5 miles an hour make a big difference.
Yeah.
Big
let's
difference.
dive into. We'll get into some hitting conversation next time because a lot of this stuff is good. And like I said, you've done such a good job with integrating what's happening nowadays and right now the athletes that you have. So definitely want to dive deeper into that. All right, so we're down there. This is where you give the plugs on how to follow us on because I'm an old guy, man. I don't know like where are we? Where are we going to be?
Yeah, we're on. So check this out. We're on Facebook on Two in the Mud, and it's 2 spelled TWO. And we'll put them. I'll have Jade. She'll put us a little thing. So this is easier. So at the end of this, you'll see a screen that shows where you can follow us. Please follow us there. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. So we're on all those things. Tony and I are going to have these conversations every couple. We're going to do it every 2 weeks. Yeah. We'll drop one of these. We're going to have these every 2 weeks. And on those social platforms, tell us what you want to hear about. Like, let us know. We're literally
questions, topics, any
we
problems
don't have
you might be having.
We don't have a script. Like, I have a sheet of paper with the games and shit. We literally showed up here. Yeah, look at Tony's. We literally showed up here just to talk. Right, and that's the premise of what we wanted to do.
I don't think anybody doubted that we were going to be able to talk.
Yeah,
Can we keep it relevant? Is like the thing. So how about this?
This wasn't scripted in any way, and so we need your help on what you want to hear about.
I could never follow a script. I'd be the worst around. Yeah. Okay, how about any other brands, bombers, who you want to give a shout out to?
You know,
where do we catch what's happening with the Bombers? You guys got social media and stuff? Is it you got any YouTube stuff? Like what? Come on.
Yeah, we're out there. You should just Google Bombers Fast Pitch, and we'd love for you to follow us on our social platforms. We have some cool stuff.
And what about For the Heroes? Anything like that?
Yeah, we have For the Heroes is on all social platforms as well: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Just encourage people to go check it out because there's stories behind the brands and go see kind of on the inside of it.
Yeah, and I know this is big for you. You want people to build their brands. And so I'm going to tell you, Tony's going to get into a bunch of that over the course of these. Yeah, he's going to help. He helped me. I can tell you right now, he helped me. He hates being called the godfather of this process of growing an org, but he really did. I followed what he's done, and I know many other people have, and he's certainly going to spit some wisdom on here. So, Tony, it's been fun, man. We chopped it up for, I think we said we wouldn't go over an hour and a half or so, and we're an hour and 32 minutes.
Hey, man, Rogan set the standard though, so we're good. And I just want to remind people, listen, I'm having a lot of fun working with my partner Holly on the Range Pitching Academy.
Yeah.
So this little logo right here. So, check it out on Instagram. She's
doing
a great job of telling that story. But that's really just an organic move to help pitchers, and you all know what I'm talking about when there's too many stressed out pitchers out there. So just check it out, because the intention of anything and everything we do is to help, share, entertain, educate, and never want to waste your time. So if you don't like it, click it off.
Yeah, just flip out of here. You're good. We don't want you to. But I will tell you this: we got to get Holly on here to chat about some pitching stuff.
I told you to have
her and Kat.
Kat and Holly just sit in for us, because they do a better job than both of us. So
they would. They're certainly what we call subject matter experts. Way better than you and I, for sure.
Absolutely.
Tony, ton of fun, man.
All right, brother.
Can't wait for the next one,
Number
guys.
one in the
Thanks.
books.
Yeah, thanks for
right.
watching today, guys. We appreciate y'all. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.
You're listening to the Two in the Mud podcast with Tony Rico and Scott Smith.